Emily and I'm an educator at MOHAI, and this is Idea Lab at Home. Join us as we tinker, experiment, and create our way through history with rotating topics and activities. Today, we are exploring wetlands. The Union Bay Natural Area, a 74-acre public wildlife area on the shores of Lake Washington. That means it's the same size as Seattle Center. It provides an important habitat for animals and birds and is a place where scientists study nature. It's also one of the best birdwatching sites in the city of Seattle. Under my feet are layers of soil, trash, and history. Even though we call this place a natural area now, people have made many changes to it over time. Believe it or not, this used to be a landfill. In 1916, the government finished construction on the Montlake Cut as part of a larger ship canal project to allow boats to travel between Lake Washington and Puget Sound. Lake Union is lower than Lake Washington, however, so when the two were connected, 9 feet of water drained out of Lake Washington into Lake Union, creating new marshland here at the mouth of the Ravenna Creek. This change caused problems for the lumber and shingle mills that were once here. Their docks no longer reached the water, their log pond shriveled up, and the bay was too shallow to access steamers traveling in and out of Lake Washington. After a few years, the University of Washington purchased the land and turned it into the university dump in the 1920s. At first, only city garbage trucks brought trash here, but after 1949, local residents and businesses started bringing trash here too, with little oversight. At one point, this site held 60% of Seattle's garbage. Before the dump closed, workers were bringing in 2,600 truckloads of trash here every month. And by the 1950s and 60s, Seattle's landfills were running out of room, especially this one. The city started using transfer stations to sort trash and send it elsewhere. And the university dump was fully closed in 1966. After the dump was closed, workers capped it, which means they covered it with clay and soil and planted grasses on top. The land stayed mostly untouched because it wasn't stable enough to build on. Over time, plants and animals moved in, and birds were especially well suited to the habitat. And by 1980, a study found over 200 species of wildlife living here. At the same time, there was a growing movement to protect the environment. New laws like the State Shoreline Management Act helped to protect places like Union Bay from further development, and universities were setting up environmental studies programs to learn about nature. Some UW teachers imagined turning this land into a place for learning, research, and public outreach. And after many years of studies, committees, and planning, they created this natural laboratory. In the 1990s, teams began restoring the land or returning the ecosystem closer to its historic conditions. They removed invasive plants, built gravel trails, and reconnected Ravenna Creek to the nearby waterways. Next, they worked to improve existing wetlands and create new ones. This included upgrades to the areas around the wetland that help protect them, introducing plants and fungi that improve water quality, building habitats for pollinators, and restoring Gessler Swamp. Today, students, staff, and volunteers continue this work. They remove invasive plants, grow native ones, build habitats for animals, and monitor how well the restoration is working. It's this work that makes the Union Bay Natural Area a natural laboratory, and you can see signs of the scientific process all around you. There are plots staked off for study, signs that warn of herbicides, small makeshift greenhouses, and pipes that protect young plants. The Union Bay Natural Area offers 5 distinct habitats: woodlands, shrublands, wetlands, shorebird areas, and an unmanaged wildlife site. Wetlands, like marshes, swamps, and bogs, are land areas that are saturated or covered with water for enough time during the year to create low oxygen conditions in the soil. And wetland plants have uniquely evolved to tolerate these conditions. In the early 1900s, wetlands were generally considered useless nuisances that were not important enough to preserve or study. Landowners, businesses, and the government often drained or filled them to convert the land for other uses, like farming or constructing buildings. In the 1960s, alongside the emerging environmental movement, public perception of wetlands began to change, as they were considered valuable for their role as habitats for a wide variety of species. This led to scientists being interested in learning more about the different kinds of wetlands, how they're formed, and their parts, like vegetation and open water. From these observations, it soon became apparent that wetlands contribute more than just habitat. In the 1980s, research was done that shows how wetlands filter pollutants and contribute to flood protection. This in turn laid the foundation for research that uncovered how different wetland functions are controlled by a number of factors like climate. Ecologists have documented the following environmental functions that wetlands provide. Wetlands are great at holding water and then releasing it slowly. This means they also provide time for water to filter down into the ground. They protect the shore from erosion with their extensive roots, help purify water by trapping pollutants, and provide ideal living conditions for fish and wildlife. Next, we'll show you how to create your own wetland in a bottle to observe how they clean water. To do this activity, you'll need the following things: some water, a mixing container, a plastic bottle, tools to cut your bottle with and to poke holes in the lid, a timer, and a variety of organic materials. Harvest responsibly. Only take a little from any one plant, don't pull up the roots, and at the end of your experiment, return things back where they came from so that they can rejoin the environment. First step is to poke holes in the lid of your bottle. Next, I'm going to cut off the top third of this bottle, and I'm going to draw a line to show me where to cut. When poking holes and cutting your bottle, please have an adult around to supervise and help out. Take the top part of your bottle and flip it upside down to rest in the bottom. Now we're going to layer in our organic materials, starting with the pebbles and then adding things like moss, grasses, twigs, leaves, or whatever else you've collected. Next, add soil to your water and mix it until the water is murky. Nice. Slowly pour your water into the bottle and watch how wetlands work their magic. Watch what happens as water flows through your wetland. How long does it take for the water to reach the bottom, and what does it look like when it gets there? Experiment further by building your wetland a few different ways. You can use different kinds of organic materials, pack them tighter or looser, and even try different sources of water. You can locate the activity instructions below or on our website at mohai.org/education. You can also explore Seattle's environmental history with our online collection at mohai.org/collections. Thanks for watching.